Hello and happy November, guys. Today I'm coming to you with a July, August, and September TV shows and movie wrap up. I know I'm a little bit late on this front, but better late than never, I guess. So, we're going to kick things off with the TV shows portion of the video. So, going all the way back to our summertime in July, the first series that I finished off was Stranger Things Series 4, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And oh my gosh, I think this was the most intense, dark season that we've had yet. The cinematography in the Upside Down was bloody beautiful. It felt so immersive. It had even higher stakes, if that's even possible, and it had all the emotions that I could ever want. I felt so fully immersed in this world, in the storytelling and the characters, and it definitely felt like it wasn't the end, which was a bit of a trippy situation for me because I went into this series thinking this was the final one, but then after a while I think it's wildly known now that that was kind of like the predecessor of what do they call it, like the beginning of the end. So season 5 is going to be the ultimate finale, and I've seen a lot of things popping up saying it started with Will, it's going to end with Will, and I'm really looking forward to that, but I don't think it's coming out until 2024. I don't know how the characters, the actors are going to age well with this because they're already looking like grown-ass people in teenage bodies. It's a bit awkward, but we keep it moving. I'm really looking forward to it, and I don't know how long I can wait for. Like, the frustration and the anticipation is already building up for me, and I've only recently, in the last couple of months, just finished off that season, so we shall have to see. After that, I watched a cute little cartoon show called Summer Camp Island, and I think it was season 1. It was about 40 episodes, but I saw up to around 34 episodes, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I've actually had this sitting in my recordings for about, I don't know, like a few years now, and although I've seen the odd episode here and there, I wanted to watch them in some semblance of an order. Unfortunately, episodes from my recordings were missing, so I skipped some portions of them. I think I went from like episode 1 to 6, and then after that it was like episode 11, and it skipped through to 13 and on and on. So I haven't fully watched season 1 properly in order, although I found them on iPlayer, but honestly I couldn't be asked to go back through the ones I missed, so I just kind of watched what I had to hand. But anyway, I watched enough definitely to say that this show is absolutely adorable. I loved it, and it's so cute how at the end of each episode in the credits there's a little nod to the theme of what the episode was about. And yeah, it was just so much fun. I think, Summer Camp Island, it aired during the summer a couple of years ago. It was like the perfect time, and it just felt nostalgic but also fresh and new, and all the weird little characters were very like complementary to the other strange shows that Cartoon Network put out. But yeah, I did adore it. The next series I finished up was the Umbrella Academy, and this one was, where are we now, like season 3, I think, and I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. This was a rampacked season, and I think that's, saying the least. From the start it was headfuckery, but I feel like it deals with parallel universes, paradoxes, etc. in a much more easy to understand way than, say, Legion does. I've spoken quite a fair bit about Legion in the last couple of TV show wrap-ups, so if you want to know some more thoughts on that, feel free to check them out. I enjoyed seeing the different relationships and the difficulties within the family. It was an emotionally crazy season, but generally it felt like it lacked the direction and flow the earlier seasons had, and the earlier seasons had them quite strongly, I would say. So that was something that kind of felt blaringly missing, in my opinion. After that, I finished up season 3 of The Boys, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. It was another fantastic, batshit insane season. The plot really took us there, and I was on edge throughout the whole thing. Had some amazing character growth, especially with MM. Is it double M? I can't remember now how they say it. Billy and Kimiko. Next up, similar kind of name, The Boys Diabolical, similar kind of process. This one I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. It's basically a mini cartoon series within that kind of franchise. It's different art style each time, super brutal, and got attached more than I expected to from such short stories. But this was a great supplement that had me in mind of kind of like the Love, Death and Robots anthology series on Netflix. But yeah, this was centered in the Boys universe. Then I finished up Siren season 2, which I haven't given a rating for some reason. Let me see. I think I probably give it like a 4 stars. But yeah, 3 years later, finally continued on with this show. I think it had a mid-season break around episode 6 when I was watching this during the time it was actually airing, and then I stopped having Sci-Fi as a channel, and I was almost about to pay for it in Prime when Disney Plus added it, so it was just perfect serendipity, I think. So I backtracked a bit to episode 5, which turned out to be just after the cusp of a cheeky threesome. But episode 16 in particular got absolute crazy, and we had a small time jump that set everything in extreme conditions, and I was really eager to know how they were going to kind of carry that on into season 3. So yeah, it was a really motivating season, I would say. And just other mentions, I also watched the Jimmy Savile, A British Horror Story, which was incredibly unsettling and uncomfortable. So we are going on to the movies that I watched during July, August, September. So again, going back to July, I think I only watched TV shows in July. Back then I didn't break it up into other months. But anyway, sometimes I do have random lulls of just not watching anything. But yeah, back to July for the movies. Went to the cinema and we watched Thor, Love and Thunder, which I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. I think for the most part this was just a really fun filler following the adventures of Thor and Mighty Thor. It had some emotional scenes I wasn't expecting, but it really delivered the humour more than anything else. Also, it was very hair metal, which I absolutely loved. I do feel like after some reflection though, it kind of in a way did some disservice, because I feel like at this point Thor needed a bit more time to have a bit more of a serious story arc. You know, we had him being a bit silly in other movies, and I just feel like it was his time to kind of hone in and get back to that roots of Thor being this epic Norse god. But it was a bit silly. But as I say, at the time it was enjoyable, just a bit of fun filler for the next movies. But I do think he needs a little bit more of a serious situation next time. After that, we checked out A Quiet Place Part 2, which I gave a 5 stars. This was such a great conclusion to this duology horror movie series. It had me gripped in anticipation throughout the whole movie. I love how it uses the silence and used mirroring to show scenes in synchronicity, such as battles happening at the same time but in different places with obviously different characters. The flashback to before at the start was great, and I enjoyed this kind of building of a new character and their input further on in the storyline of this movie. The red and blue lightning effect, as well as the monsters looking very Demogorgon-like, was very Stranger Things in tone, I felt. But yeah, I thought this was a solid, emotional and immersive movie, and I'm so glad that I finally watched this one. I think it would have been absolutely amazing on the big screen, but we just rented it on Prime, I think it was. Now, after this, I did a whole Alien kind of, I don't know what you'd want to call it, like, I don't know, marathon. And I almost want to just kind of do, I don't know, I kind of just want to do like a whole movie review about all the aliens. It's not going to be super like nerdy and like plot point and all that sort of stuff, but it's just going to be my basic reviews, and I think I'm just going to save that for another video. So, jumping into August now, I watched Jennifer's Body, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars, and oh my gosh, what a wild ride. This was so much fun. Mean Girls turned boy killer. I can't believe I hadn't seen this before. I was seeing all the memes and the Bratz edits, and that made me think for some weird reason that it was a new film, but I don't know, what planet have I been on? I absolutely adored this though. It was a great movie. After that, I went out to see another new movie, and this one was Where the Crawdads Sing, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. I actually read the book before this, and I kind of wanted to get a feel for how true, I guess, to the storyline that the movie was going to take from it, and I actually think that this did the book so much justice. It was beautiful, and Kaya's actress was perfect with the well executed, awkward, shy, deeply uncomfortable vibe. She just really pulled it off perfectly. Little Kaya as well was such a great actress. I will say I didn't imagine Tate to be so conventionally attractive though, so that threw me because I thought it was going to be the other male character. I can't remember his name now. Chase, sorry. I wasn't initially keen on the whole plot centering on the trial itself. I think it did lose the heart of the tale, missing out on growing up with Kaya and all that early years in the marsh with her and kind of building this resilience and teaching herself to live, really, because to me it didn't feel like it was just a murder mystery, but I understand why they'd make it that way for a movie, and despite that I still think it captured the nature of Kaya and the marsh to a decent extent, and I still enjoyed my time watching it. I watched another classic sort of horror movie that I had never seen before, and this was The Lost Boys, which I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. And what a wild ride it was. I'm glad I watched it to finally get some cult classic pop culture, references, but it wasn't the best storyline in my opinion, but I guess, of its time, innit? Film up again, I watched Lightyear, which was a 5 out of 5 stars for me, and this was Buzz's story. I thought it was going to be more, more realistic, more about the real Buzz, but it was like the Buzz within the Toy Story world. I don't know, it's a bit confusing, but anyway, it was fantastic. It made me cry and laugh, and the cast was absolutely amazing. Fantastic storyline, and it was a really emotional character building, which I felt was like one of the main concepts throughout and was executed beautifully. Again, you're going to see that I've got a lot of Predator franchise. I kind of went through all of those as well, and I think I want to either put it in the same video as the Aliens one or put it in a separate video, so I'm going to be skipping out. But up next in September I watched the first Predator movie. Not going to talk about it too much. Then I checked out Witch, or The Witch, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. I love this movie. It perfectly balanced atmosphere with the story. The building tension with the missing children and the hatred brewing between the family members really made it even scarier when awful things began to happen. I think the fact that it was all isolated and it had these cold, dark, tonal choices of colour really amplified that atmospheric situation. And Anya Taylor-Joy was amazing as always, and I'm so glad that I finally got around to watching this movie. Next up, I watched Kiki's Delivery Service, which I've already done a movie versus a book video on, if you want to check that out. I also did a reading vlog when I was reading the book, but I gave that one a 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I've got a rewatch. This one was Black Swan, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was my first time watching this since it originally came out, and I really did enjoy this viewing. I was able to put aside my fear at seeing this when I was like a scared of everything 15-year-old. And I really picked apart the themes being discussed, which was really interesting for me. The confusion of reality and delirium was so compelling as Nina battled for the main role in Swan Lake, whilst unknowingly battling with mental health problems. The toxic competitivity of elite ballet was well displayed, I feel, especially from a perspective of someone who seems quite outside the social clique. The maternal smothering was another interesting topic. You could see how suffocating that was for Nina and how much her mum tried to live vicariously through her. The conversations of self-love and sexuality was interwoven with self-harm and mental health and made it quite painful to swallow, but I feel like it could be a very familiar feeling for some in that confusing but connected way. It was a dark and twisty one, and I think it holds up well 10 years later. I have my Predator movies, and then I watched Alien vs Predator, and then I watched Predators, and then I watched Alien vs Predator Requiem, all of which I'll do a video for at a later date. Then I have My Neighbour Totoro, which I did a book versus movie review for. Again, I'll leave a link in the cards if you're interested in. And I also did a reading vlog, I believe. I think it was like a combined one with this and Kiki's Delivery Service. It was like a themed Studio Ghibli reading vlog. Following that, again, I watched The Predator. And keeping on the theme with Predators, but not really part of that franchise, I watched The Paedophile Hunter. And this one I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. I think I remember back when this was all happening. It was interesting to go back and watch the events properly. But yeah, some extreme methods in bringing out child hurters. Then I watched, so all the Predators and Aliens was kind of in the lead up to the new movie being released, which was Prey. Watched that one. Again, we'll do a video about it. Next up, Pinocchio 2022. I gave this one a 3.5 stars. I thought it was a really sweet remake. Tom Hanks was great and the whole vibe felt very classic, but also, you know, fresh and different. Luke Evans played the creepy child snatcher person so well. It was so unsettling in his pauses and stares. Oh my god, it actually made me cringe, like my skin crawled. Ugh. Anyway, it wasn't a true musical, but the songs it had were recreations of the original, and I think some new ones were introduced too. But yeah, they were fabulously sung, especially the Wish Upon a Star one. Beautifully sung. I thought it was a wholesome movie overall. And then lastly, again, one I'm not going to be talking about in this video is Prometheus. But yeah, that wraps up all the movies and TV shows I watched back in July, August, September. Let me know if you've watched any of these yourselves, and I shall catch you in the next one. Bye.